The rightful final to the World Boxing Super Series tournament at super middleweight will be going ahead between St George Groves and Callum Smith. Both Brits, one from Liverpool, the other from Hammersmith in London. And I'm just happy that this is the finals going ahead just for the sake of boxing in the tournament. They were talking about subbing in Chris Eubank Jr., who'd already been easily beaten by Groves because of Groves' sore shoulder, having to have some help with that. That would have been a disaster. Just for the tournament as a whole, people would be thinking, right, well, we can't take the World Boxing Super Series tournament seriously now. It's not indicative of any credibility or trying to figure out who the best fighter is. So I'm glad this one's going to be going ahead, apparently sometime in August or September. And it's a classic encounter in terms of not how good both these guys are, but you've got Groves, who's naturally more skillful and experienced against the younger, stronger bull. Now, Callum Smith is pretty basic what he does. He fights in straight lines. There's nothing particularly creative or elusive about him. That is Groves' angle to try and work his magic there. Distance control, uses very nice left jab. Keep him honest with the right. Move, and try and lock him up when he can. Try and keep him honest. Try and bruise him a bit. And then just try and befuddle him and discourage him. Callum Smith has already noted going into this that Groves is vulnerable. Of course, since Groves first got stopped against Froch, the first and definitely the second time, all his opponents who have been trying to beat him thinking like, right, this guy's vulnerable, especially in the later half of the fight. Let's try and get him out of there. And I think Callum Smith will be trying to use a bit of a rangefinder jab to begin with, just keep a high guard and probably try and get Groves to work and expend himself early on without catching too much and try and get him later on. That is probably the game plan that's going to be devised for him, for Joe Gallagher. That's probably the best way to go about it. I'm favouring, though, in this encounter for skill to win the day. It's always the best one to bank on. So long as Groves' body is holding up now, he is a bit of a jaded fighter. He's not the same guy who had a great performance against Froch in that first fight. He hasn't got that same spite and snap. I think everybody's noticed that. He has different layers to his game now. He'll clinch, he'll do certain more seasoned things which are good, but he's not as potent a force. You'll see particularly with the right hand, he'll cuff it more. And often you'll see with more jaded fighters who did have a great right hand, they don't drill it down the pipe the same. They start cuffing a bit with it. You saw it with the likes of Tommy Hearns. You saw it with Manny Pacquiao after he got knocked out by Marquez. He just started winging shots more, and the body is just not working in the same harmony as it used to. Could possibly be a bit worried about hurting his fists. That's why fighters do that. But while Groves has lost a bit of that spite, I think he will have enough experience and guile to be able to hypnotise Callum to a degree. I think he'll have to get through some tough periods because Callum can throw a very nice left hook to the body, which can bust you up. And of course, he managed to floor common opponent Christopher Rebrasse, which Groves wasn't able to do. So that shows some strength there and power. But I favour the more skillful man to have a real fist-pumping moment in his career. Groves, who's had a career full of a lot of hardships. I think he'll have a great win here, arguably the best moment of his career thus far. How much of a career he'll have left after that, I don't know. I think we are looking at a guy who, well, he hasn't had that many fights. The career has worn on him quite a bit. I expect him to win a close but competitive unanimous decision. But what do you think? Can Callum Smith upset the apple cart here and bring it back to Liverpool?